Welcome to the Vanilla to Vixen podcast. This show contains adult content, so if you are under 18 or easily offended, please switch off now. Mr and Mrs N are not qualified relationship counsellors. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Now the disclaimer is out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy our journey from Vanilla to Vixen.
Episode 111 of Vanilla to Vixen. We are your hosts, Mr and Mrs N, and we're also known as...
the naughty couple.
That's the squeaky Mrs N. We've got Mrs N and we've got a very special guest today. We've got Mr Foxy in the house.
Hello, this week I am mostly on the podcast.
So yeah, now it's revealed. Mr Foxy was kind of like, you know, Batman at the end with all his Jesse bits. And it's all been revealed now. It's all out in the open.
We've had to lure him in.
We have, because I think we've got a sick note, Mrs N, bless her, who's on the sidelines.
A
little bit poorly. So it's going to be the boys.
It is. It's definitely. I'm handing the reins over to the wonderful Mr Foxy.
There's going to be trouble with the boys in charge.
We have. This is going to be a raucous podcast, I feel. Which you know, we've got lots to cover. We've got the festival next year, the V2V Wonderland Festival, which is on from the 1st of August to the 3rd of August. And the tickets are going on sale very, very soon now.
Yeah.
1st of October.
Yeah.
Through Liberty Elite.
That's exciting.
I know. We've got Mr Foxy with his massive tent pole and...
My camping erection.
There's lots of scope for sort of naughty language with that.
Don't make me laugh, it hurts.
Talking of that, do you know the difference between a chickpea and a lentil?
No.
What?
Well, I've never paid to have a lentil on my face.
Oh, no. No.
Can't even laugh, Mrs N.
I can't. I'm just going to sit here quietly and just let you boys do your stuff.
Well, this episode, swinging paraphernalia and things, has been in the press again this week, where it's been revealed the fantasy Brits are most desperate to try, and the bizarre... And they've called it the bizarre ones, like objectphilia and cuckolding. So they've called cuckolding bizarre. It's general media.
Okay.
So we know it's like bullshit, really. So it says, forget a menage a trois. This is from the Daily Mail, so it's bound to be true. Forget a menage a trois. Brits' biggest sexual fantasy is erotic role play, apparently, a survey suggests. A poll of over 3,500 Brits suggests a third of the country is most interested in pursuing erotic role play with their partner. Such scenarios included pretending to be strangers or exploring teacher-student dynamics, according to the Let's Talk About Sex report. It was conducted by telehealth company Hims and Hers. I wonder how much money they got for this. But other more niche sexual fetishes also featured, with 1 in 20 Brits interested in pursuing objectphilia. Have you ever tried objectphilia, Mr Foxy?
Objectophilia. I don't know. I tend to stay away from all of the aphilias because, you know, they get you into trouble.
I mean, I've heard of like a guy. I remember a guy who was literally sexually turned on by his car. That wasn't me. But
No.
Well, they have these people that get married to like strange objects as well, don't they? That some woman got married to a building and somebody else to a tree.
Yeah, so that is objectphilia, which I can't believe 1 in 20 were interested in pursuing objectphilia. Do you reckon it's just like probably the guys that are going, yeah, I want to pursue a more close relationship with the pub?
Ooh, I like that idea.
Do you think that could be it? And it says, this is where a person is interested in engaging in a sexual romantic relationship with an inanimate object. It actually does say an inanimate object such as a toy or a lamp preferred by those interested in pursuing objectphilia. They didn't specify what the object was in the report.
And what sort of lamp? Is it a miner's lamp? Is it a standard lamp?
You can get some naughty looking lava lamps.
See, that could be quite sexy.
Could get a little bit, you can warm them up, can't you?
Yeah. End up becoming a bit of a lava lover.
And it says, while erotic roleplay reigned supreme with 32% of Brits surveyed interested in titillating fictional scenarios, guess what second place was? So second place, with 17% of people, guess what that was?
Please don't say it's got anything to do with animals.
No.
Unless they're foxes, they're okay.
Yeah. No foxes were harmed in the making of this podcast. 17% wanted to pursue a dom and sub submissive relationship, respectively.
I'd rather have a sub sandwich.
Really? You're not interested in the dom and sub sort of exploring?
Unless the dom is Domino's.
Where one person has consensually agreed power over the other. This was closely followed by sexual voyeurism, the act of observing others, and that was at 16%. So 16% of people were into the voyeuristic
I would have thought they would have been higher than that.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem particularly high.
Oh, and then I didn't read this bit. 1 in 6 Brits, which is 14%, were interested in trying dry dating, which is apparently Britain's fastest growing trend, where people date without drinking alcohol.
Oh.
It's called dry dating.
I thought you meant something else.
Yeah, I was thinking that without lube. That's
Yeah.
getting
You filthy-minded perverts. 13% wanted a sugar relationship.
Are they coming to the next V2V?
Hey, that's tomorrow. It's the Sweet Treats Party.
That's smooth. That was a very smooth.
Where we have got cake, we've got donuts, because it is National Cream-Filled Donut Day.
You're going to have to bring a bag of sugar now as well.
I've got something even better than that. I've got a box full of canisters of candy floss.
Ooh.
People are going to be absolutely off their tits on sugar.
And a bit sticky.
Oh, yeah. You know what happens when candy floss gets wet, though? It kind of goes solid. It could be a bit naughty. So it says a similar portion of Brits, 13%, wanted a sugar relationship where one partner offers financial rewards in exchange for companionship or intimacy, like a sugar daddy. Or a sugar mommy. Apparently sugar mommies are the most popular things with young guys now.
Really?
So it says over 1 in 10 Brits, 11%, reported being interested in pegging. We know what pegging is.
We know what pegging is.
Yeah. Don't tell Miss Foxy that. She'll have them doing their laundry.
A sex act where one person uses a sex toy to have anal sex with another. The same proportion were interested in polyamory, which of course is the act of having multiple sexual partners without the goal.
Nothing to do with parrots.
I think it could be the one. So I'm surprised actually. Over 1 in 10 Brits, 11%, are now interested in polyamory.
Really?
I'm not sure I believe that.
We are talking the Daily Mail here.
I suppose it depends who they were speaking to and who they were asking. But apparently it was 3,500 Brits that were asked. But voyeurism was in the top 3 of sexual fantasies with Brits. The opposite side of the coin, exhibitionism, the act of being watched while undertaking a sexual activity, was less popular, with only 10% of people wanting to do this.
That's going to disappoint the voyeurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be more voyeurs than exhibitionists. So it could turn into kind of like a dogging situation, I suppose. Cuckolding, a type of roleplay where an individual forces their partner to watch them. It says watch them cheat. That's not true. We know that's not true. Was also niche, with only 1 in 10 Brits expressing a desire to pursue this fetish. So cuckolding wasn't quite so popular.
Thing is, there's different levels of cuckolding.
That's very true.
The ones of them that are interested have probably been locked up somewhere, so they couldn't actually get their vote in.
I do remember Miss Foxy locking Mr Ed up once.
Yeah, it was hot. That was really hot. That was at Chameleons in the naughty chamber of whatever it is. That was really good. Yeah, and
you were the prisoner of Azkaban.
I was. and my back ached after a while because you couldn't stand up. It was like bent over and... It says, similar to other fantasies listed, the survey did not detail which aspects of this sex trend they were most interested in trying. That's the cuckolding and locking up and everything else. In addition to objectophilia, other rare fantasies, the rare ones, including getting paid to supply sexy pics and videos on a platform like OnlyFans. Okay, 9%. And having a partner use their feet was also at 9%.
Oh, okay.
Although it doesn't say use their feet doing what, I guess.
Let's not go there.
Okay, overall, the survey found that when asked what would improve their sex lives, the majority of Brits didn't answer more sex.
Just better sex.
Yeah, so quantity isn't the answer. There you go. Some 67% said trying a different kind of sex would improve their intimate relationship. So that's interesting. So 67% wanted a different type of sex to more sex.
Okay.
Yeah, but in other words, so they weren't happy with the sex that they're having.
Yeah.
I don't know what they want. Commented on the results, Dr. Denise Asafu Adji, a urologist at Hims and Hers, said people have become more curious. They're doing a lot more than we are taking stock of, apparently. Another aspect of the report looked at how much sex Brits were actually having in different parts of the country. This is interesting. Okay. So nationally, 55% of Brits reported having sex at least once a week, 59% of men, and only 51% of women. So there's less women having sex than men.
Oh.
There you go.
Somebody's lying.
So can we have a guess? 67% was the highest in one part of the country to say that they have sex at least once a week. Can we guess where that was?
It's them Northerners.
No.
It normally is because they haven't got tellies or it's too cold.
That's it. You see, the nights are drawing in, it's getting colder, the Northerners are now having to keep their clothes on. It was actually Londoners. It's the Southerners. 67% reporting enjoying amorous encounters at least once a week. This was followed by those in the Northwest. So you were close, Mr. Foxy.
Wasn't far off.
Guess what?
What?
The third highest at 56%. Home of Liberty Elite itself, the East Midlands. So there you go.
That was just on a V2V night.
Do you want to know where the lowest one was?
Go on.
44%. Now, only a couple of weeks ago, we did a very special show from Northern Ireland. Well, we didn't go there. We kind of did it over the telephone with the Northern Ireland Social. It was Northern Ireland. 44% reporting having weekly sex in Northern Ireland.
Now, I don't think they like talking about it over there. Because we've had conversations with a few people from as our good friend would say, Northern Ireland, and the other Irish elements. They don't like talking about it. They don't. Like a lot of the meets are very clandestine, and they don't let people know where they're going to meet until last minute. So I think maybe they just don't like talking about it as much.
So it's like a 90s rave. You just get you just get Steve in a car park who's following like some like really weird, messages saying, right, go 300 yards down this road, turn left. Then
you get a text with what 3 words?
Yeah. And then you have to join up with Bob and Andrea. I'm just making these names up. They're not real, Now, the second lowest, you're not going to like this, Mr. Foxy.
Uh-oh.
With 49%, the second lowest are reported to have sex once a week, Wales.
That doesn't surprise us. That's why we have to drive to Leicestershire every month.
I think perhaps we could have solved the riddle. That the Welsh aren't having sex in Wales. They're driving outside of Wales to have sex.
We're exporting
sexual activity. That's brilliant. Wales...
Just not very quickly.
That's it. So Wales is exporting sex. Absolutely.
And maybe that's the problem. Maybe they're having like sex at 20 miles an hour as well.
You see, then the report goes on. When asked what proportion of Brits they thought had sex at least once a week, the average was 81%, 26% points higher than the reality. Dr. Asafu Aji, whatever her name is, said it was critical to remember that wasn't a normal amount of sex people should aim for. It's not a target. It's hard to convince people that there truly isn't a standard sex life, she said. So there you go. It's from the doctor's own mouth that it's not quantity and it's not normal. Mrs. N's just sitting here grinning.
I am.
I'm just wondering how many of those who thought masturbation was having sex.
I don't know. I guess it's who they ask. Are they asking people in couples? Are they asking singles? You could manipulate figures to make whatever you want these days.
I've heard apparently 73% of all statistics were made up on the spot.
So, we move on to this week's V2V. We've got the Sweet Treats party.
This one's going to be amazing.
I know. It's going to be high levels of energy. We're going to dose Mrs. N up on Night Nurse.
Yeah, definitely.
Fill her full of sugar.
Yeah.
Suck on a fisherman's friend.
Yeah. You can fill me full of something else if you like, as long as it gets me through the night.
I'll be turning up in my waders.
Sometimes we need that in the playroom. And then we've got obviously all through the summer we've been doing V2V, and we've kind of been doing it every month, and it's the last one in October. Not the last one ever, but then we're going back to every 8 or 9 weeks. So October's going to be a really, really special V2V. On October the 5th, we are doing Cluedo Whodunit V2V.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting. You're going to have all the rooms as different names, like the library and the...
Yeah, this is possible. So you could have a Reverend Green did it with the double-ended dildo in the jacuzzi.
There you go.
Could have that. I think we might end up with about 200 Miss Scarlets. I think
it'd be more like a who done who than a who done it.
Very good. I like that.
It could be. So we're going to have. It's also as well dress. So fancy dress is optional. You can dress up as one of your favourite TV detectives or a Cluedo character. Mm-hmm. So I do think we're going to have about 200 Miss Scarlets. And apparently they've removed Mrs. White from modern day Cluedo.
Have they?
Apparently so, yeah.
Why?
She just didn't fit the modern... I don't know why. Why remove...
She was the cook.
She wasn't diverse enough.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they moved Mrs. White, but apparently she's gone.
Oh.
I'm going to have to Google that now. If you tuned in to talk about swinging, Don't worry, normal service will be resumed, but I just do need to find out who replaced Mrs. White. Although originally planned to be in 2016 edition, Mrs. White was replaced by a suspect, a new character, Dr. Orchid.
Oh.
So there you go.
So I suppose if you think about it, if people do their research, because there's lots of different Cluedos nowadays, isn't there? So there's a lot more scope for if you want to come as a certain character.
I've sorted my fancy dress out now.
Yeah.
Orchid in the top pocket. I've come as Dr. Orchid. Stick some stethoscope round my neck.
What if Dr. Orchid's a woman?
Ooh. I might have to do some more research. Dr. Orchid could identify as a man.
Dr. Orchid can do what she wants.
He or she.
She.
So we go on now. We're going to move on now from Cluedo to actually talking about some swinging topics. We are actually going to do some swinging topics this week, rather than Cluedo and talking about Dr. Asafu Adji, whatever her name is. So we were going to talk about messaging, etiquette, and not just single guys, because you do get kind of like, but it just unfortunately seems to be a lot of single guys that probably do need a little bit of coaching in messaging etiquette and communication.
You see, I think as well, because this has become quite popular, as you probably know, within our wonderful Discord community, because we've got a particular area in the Discord where the ladies do share some of their more colourful and interesting messages received from their suitors. It does make you wonder whether or not sometimes some of these guys are just so bored that they're trying to wind people up and trying to get a reaction from people. Because I can't imagine some of the rapid one-liners that come through are actually meant to entice somebody into some sort of rendezvous.
Some of the one-liners are quite shocking. And the thing is, I can't imagine them being used in real day-to-day meetings. I can't imagine it being used at a club where they would go up and go, well, I'm not going to repeat some of them, but there have been some absolute shockers.
Well, I'm going to use one.
Go on then.
There was one that came up in the chat today, and some gentleman thought it appropriate to ask whether or not the lady would be interested in him tongue bashing her fart tube.
Did he actually use those words?
I'm pretty sure it was, if not that, probably even worse. I'm not actually trying to err on the side of caution.
Tongue bashing her fart. And this is it. And it's like, at what point in your brain do you go, this is going to be a real winner? Why would you do that? Why would you go down that route?
I can say, I honestly think some of these are just having a quiet day and think, I'm going to see whether I can get a rise here, because, well, either that or there are some funny people out there and they have had a positive reaction.
Very true. It's very true.
Not wanting to kink shame anybody, obviously.
Yeah, but, I mean, Mrs. N, you get bored with messages quite quickly, don't you?
Very.
The one-liners don't usually work. We always say to people, just be yourselves, but I guess that doesn't always work.
Yeah, I mean, it can be quite entertaining, let's be fair. And I think, as a pastime within our community, I think that the whole of your clientele and fan base on there, we're now actually providing a service to help these ladies with an appropriate response. So it's creating a sense of teamwork, which seems quite positive on the back of it.
All right, so I'm going to put you two guys on the spot now.
Okay.
Because obviously, Mr. N, you obviously get to see a lot of the messages that I receive.
Yes.
And you have an opinion on them as much as I do.
I mainly just giggle at them.
And the same, obviously, for Mr. Foxy. I'm sure Miss Foxy shares some of her messages.
Oh, yes.
So what what advice could you give to these people? If you were in their shoes, what would you be saying to them?
My first piece of advice would be don't follow Mr. N's example. Find out a little bit about the lady before ridiculing certain things. For instance, if she really enjoys Harry Potter, don't say, that twat wizard with the wand. Don't ridicule certain things before you find out about them.
And I think that highlights one of the main things, that it's worth actually reading either the single ladies or the couples, or the other way around, the single gents as well can be true as well, is actually read the profile. You know, if you don't, because it's so obvious that most of the time they have not even bothered to read the profile. If they had, they wouldn't say some of the things that they said. So if you read the profile, and hopefully if whoever you're looking at has taken the time to talk about what they're looking for, is respond directly to whatever it is that they're interested in or looking for, because that's the only way you're going to instantly get some sort of a positive reaction. Because I know certainly from Miss Fox's point of view is that's it from the get-go. It's like, you know, if somebody has said something that she knows she's put in there, then automatically she's going, okay, so I know they've read that. They've obviously shown a little bit of initiative, and that will at least get a first reply back rather than completely ignoring. Absolutely.
I think now as well, there's certain things to just accept. If you are a single male sending messages, do not do the cut and paste, because ladies share information with other ladies. Would you believe that, guys? They actually do. So
absolutely,
they know, and they literally, we've sat here and we've seen where girlfriends, you know, not girlfriends, but just friends have literally gone, I've had the same message, and shown their phone. So don't do the cut and paste, guys. Don't do that at all, because ladies talk, and that is an instant X against your name.
Because as you said, it's now happening. I mean, obviously we utilize Discord, but we know many people who are in Telegram groups, WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
And nearly all of these have got a ladies section where they talk about usual stuff, you know, shoes and what they're wearing. But absolutely, they are saying, have you had this message? Have you seen this guy? Have you spoken to him? What do you think of them? It's that if saying, guys don't realise that's happening.
It's that saying that a reputation takes years to create and seconds to lose.
Yeah.
And so, yes, definitely don't do that one, guys. I think the second one as well is when you initially get a response, don't ruin it. Don't be pushy. And the trouble is that pushy guys don't seem to realise that they're being pushy.
I think they just get overexcited. The fact that they've actually got a response, they just kind of lose it all at once.
Which is understandable. I think if you're a single guy, as I said before, there's a certain level of acceptance, except that there are hundreds more single guys than there are single ladies on the scene. And there's probably more single guys than there are couples as well. And certainly more single guys rather than couples seeking single guys. So with that in mind, if you get a response, like you said, Mr. Foxy, don't lose your head and then send about 10 replies all in one go and then leave it with, why aren't you responding to me? And believe it or not, that happens loads.
And this is a catch-22, because not only is the ratio like skewed, but so many of the single women now hide their profiles because they're sick and fed up of the annoying messages, that it's, you know, you're creating your own problem. I think, you know, as if guys were messaging more sensibly, normally, politely, then more of the ladies would not hide their profiles as much.
Yeah. And we're not bashing all single guys at all. We need good quality single guys on the scene. We definitely need them.
It's a good quality guys that are losing out as a result of this, though.
Yeah.
You know, we see that all the time.
Absolutely. And we've got one single guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's kind of like new to the V2V scene, and he's absolutely fabulous, and he's so popular, and he's just kind of recently showed himself within the Discord group that we've got running now, and our Discord group is exploding. If you've not joined our Discord group yet, why not? If you're interested in the swinging lifestyle, well, we don't use the swinging lifestyle, Mrs. N's shaking her head violently, the naughty hobby, then get on Discord and see what it's all about. But we've got a single guy who's just started coming to, well, he came to the Vegas Vixen events just before we kind of temporarily paused them to do all the summer of V2Vs. But I know he is coming to V2V with a lady friend, isn't he?
He is.
And the reason he's doing that is because he's successful at what he's doing. So he's already got a single lady that wants to accompany him to V2V. And he does the right things by talking to the single ladies like they are human beings. He's polite, he's respectful, and he's just himself. He's a really nice guy, and he's just himself.
And that's what works. I think, as you said, it's when people come into the Discord channel or turn up to one of your events or going to socials. There are so many socials around that you turn up at a social and get to know people face to face, you're going to have so much more success. And people do, once they find somebody that they see as being sensible, trustworthy, interesting, tell other people.
Yeah.
They're happy to share and go, hey, look, this is a good guy. This is somebody that, you know, you might want to get in contact with. So there's so much more success to be found through actually getting involved and talking to people, either at a club, a social, or through a chat group, than trying to do it on some of the sites that we know.
I'm going to say something controversial now. I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to say to the single guys listening as well, and I guess, you know, single ladies, couples as well, ask yourself this: if you are not ready to attend a club, don't even bother messaging people on Fab, Spicy Match, Swing Hub, whatever you're on. Because if you're not yet ready to go out and meet people in the sort of environment that is a club environment, then you will just end up letting people down. You are not ready to go out and meet. So if you don't think to yourself, you know, that you are ready, it's like, oh no, I couldn't do that yet, then don't send people messages. Because the amount of people that get let down through meets is quite high.
Yeah.
And so it's people that often, I don't want to call them dreamers, but that's basically what they are. And it's they really want to get into the naughty hobby, but they're not at that sort of, they've just not got the final push of courage to go to somewhere like a club. And the thing is, if you're not ready to go to a club and mingle with, just stand at a bar and talk to people in the naughty hobby, in the lifestyle, then you are not ready to actually meet people. You're not actually going to go through with it, and you're just going to end up ultimately letting people down and ruining your own reputation. Because as we've just said before, the ladies talk about it, and so do guys as well. So if you let people down, you're ruining your reputation before you even start.
Oh, I think you're absolutely spot on there, Mr. N.
So
I want to throw something in here.
Okay.
Also, as in regards to single guys contacting couples, and I'm sure Mr. Foxy is going to talk about this a little bit, because I know it's one thing that really gets his goat sometimes, and that is the fact that if you are in a couple and you're a single guy and you're contacting one half of the couple, probably the lady, don't ignore the fact that they have another half.
Very good point.
And I'm actually going to push this the other way as well. You're absolutely right, but equally, and I'm can speak for Miss Foxy here, this is something that she feels very strongly about. It works just as much the other way, that we've met couples, and the lady is completely dismissive of Miss Foxy. And, you know, we talk about, there's a phrase, they say either husband napping or wife napping, where you're trying to steal one of the partner away for your own sexual gratification and completely dismissing the other half of the partnership.
Yeah.
So absolutely, you know, if you're a single guy, yes, you want to get time with the female, but you're going to have much more success if you get the male partner on side first. But equally, as I say, if you're a female in a couple, talk to the other woman first as well, you know, because I certainly know from Miss Fox's point of view, once she knows that both of the couple, not just the female, both of them, they get to know her and talk to her, she knows she can relax. She knows she's not going to be pushed out, and she's more happy and willing to then share me with the other person. It doesn't take long just to be a civil human being.
Building that trust up, isn't it? And
absolutely. And
again, the only way you can build trust up is through communication. So if you're not communicating properly and you're only communicating with one half of the couple, you like you said, Mr. Fox, you're not going to win them over.
And more often, if and we've said this before, everybody has to be singing from the same song sheet. Everybody has to be happy. When you're trying to find two couples to play together, you know, if everybody understands one another, the play is so much more fun and exciting. But if you've got even just one person out of the four that's not feeling included, it's going to crash and burn. At some point, somebody's going to get upset, and it's all going to go horribly wrong and ruin what could have been a really fun experience.
And potentially it could ruin your entire future in the naughty hobby. Because especially if it's you're early on in your exploration,
yeah, and
you have a really negative experience, that sets you back. It takes days, weeks to get over, months sometimes, to get over a really negative experience. So try and avoid that at all costs.
And this leads us on to another area we talk about often, in fact, all the time: communication. Mm-hmm. You know, particularly when you're new into the naughty hobby, it's over time you realise that the more you talk to one another and talk to prospective play partners, the easier it becomes. You know, Miss Foxy has spoken before about what she does. She calls housekeeping. So you get all of the annoying niff-naff out the way early on when you've had the conversation before you meet, and it gives you less potholes to fall into, or I didn't realise that was going to happen, or why have they done that when they should have known I didn't like it? So the sooner you can learn to be more open initially with each other in your partnership, but also to be open with the people that you're going to be playing with. You know, if you're not adult and open enough to be able to have that conversation with people, then you probably shouldn't be diving into sexual shenanigans.
Yeah.
I think there's also a lost art of playful flirting.
Yes.
There doesn't seem to be an awful lot of playful flirting that goes on.
That's very true.
Because
and that's something that's useful for the single guys, because I know for a fact, I mean, I know Mrs. N, I know Miss Foxy, and I know lots of other ladies who come to V2V. You know, they need that guys don't understand, I think. Guys are very visual, whereas women are very cerebral. So they need for somebody to actually get into their head, to make them feel desirable and wanted, then they start to relax. So when you're talking to somebody, it's a little bit of the old school, I won't say chat-ups because they can be a bit corny, but flirtatious and funny and interesting and compliments goes a long, long way.
Oh, yes, it definitely does.
And we've talked about confidence. And I suppose the trouble is as well, with a lot of guys, especially if you're new to it, especially if you go into the club for the first time or you're meeting someone for the first time, nerves will take over and you can think to yourself, what I'm going to talk about, how I'm going to deal with this. When there is a chance of a sexual encounter. So probably it's wise to just meet for the first time or go to the club for the first time and say, okay, tonight for me this is just going to be a social meet, because then instantly you've taken a load of pressure off yourself if you think that.
And I know certainly from Miss Fox's point of view, most of her more successful meets have started out with just a coffee date, a chance to chat and get to know somebody and find out about the person. That makes a big difference. And like you said as well, I think it's interesting, going back to the survey when you mentioned about dry dating. It was interesting. There was a conversation in the chat the other day where people were asking about 0% drinks at the bar, whether the club has zero alcohol beverages, and I think so. There is more of an interest in that, and I think if you can get over those initial nerves, people always talk about having a bit of Dutch courage, or I need a couple of drinks to relax me. But too often we see that 1 or 2 drinks for Dutch courage ends up turning into 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And you've then lost any sense of decency and control. You end up picking ladies up off the bathroom floor and guys getting a bit rowdy, and it never ends well.
And consent is sexy, and you can't give proper consent if you've had 1 too many for Dutch courage.
And let's not forget, guys, you have too many. What is it you're there to do? If the tackle ain't going to play ball,
the elevator's not going to go all the way to the top. Oh, Mrs. N's got a silent giggle. She's got a silent giggle. We're missing Mrs. N's giggle this week.
So sorry.
Normal service will be resumed next week. But yes, you're absolutely right, Mr. Foxy. It's a catch-22 again that they're drinking sometimes for nerves or to quell the nerves, but then it ends up just creating a scene or a scenario where they're struggling, and that then can put you off for months or altogether because you don't want to go again, because you get inside your own head that you think you can't perform.
The thing is,
not forgetting again that the ladies talk.
Exactly.
But I was just going to say as well, not only that, but if you're in like a club environment or somewhere, that can have a massive ripple effect on what is going on around you. So if you're now watching somebody that's had a little bit too much to drink, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm very aware that they've had a bit much. So you're suddenly concentrating on that performance rather than probably what you were there for in the first place. It can have a very negative, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. My brain won't work.
You've got brain fog.
I've got brain fog. But yeah, it can have, because it's. I have been in that situation where we've seen it's not always guys. There's women as well.
You
that
lose your
do
concentration on what's happening, and you're looking at the.
Yeah, because you're worried about. Well, you're worried that are they going to get into a situation that is not good, and they're not aware of it, or B, are they going to cause a situation and a scene, so you then can't relax and. That does have a massive effect on everybody.
I am, one of my main delights at going to Liberty Elite is that you don't see people usually that have had too much to drink, which is really, really good. But I mean, you know,
and when it does happen, the staff deal with it very quickly, but then that's that individual's night ruined. You know, they've got all dressed up, they've spent money to go out, looking forward to a good night, and we've seen it sometimes even less than half an hour having arrived, and they're having to go home. It's completely ruined their evening.
The taxi is called. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, another top tip. But yeah, I mean, going back to communication, and we've said this many times, but it is so true, where you find an excuse as well. So if you've met someone in a club, find an excuse to just nip out together if you can and communicate whilst you're talking to the other couple, so that you can stay on the same page, because we've seen it before where couples get into a situation and perhaps one couple wants to do something and take it a bit further, but then the other part of the couple doesn't, and so that can cause a situation.
Yeah, so many different issues, but I think that's, again, all of these things are interwoven. This leads into developing a little bit of confidence where, you know, in that situation, you should feel okay to speak up. You know, we all know why we're here. You know, this isn't like the Muggle world. Just sort of have that strength of character, the ability to go, hang on a second, can we just take can we have a timeout? We'll just have a bit of a break now and have a chat, rather than thinking, well, we've started, so we'll finish, you know? But people do. And then afterwards, you know, it causes so many difficult conversations. We should now at least be able to have conversation. If we're having sex with somebody, you should be able to have a conversation with them.
It's so we have spoken to couples where they've literally come and gone away and gone, where they've both felt like they're taking one for the team, and they've gone, but I didn't really want to do it. I thought you wanted to do it. And they go, no, I thought you wanted to carry on. And they've both literally ended up almost taped.
Don't get me wrong. We were that person. You know, we've been there. I am speaking from experience. Don't do it.
Oh my word.
Interestingly, just carrying on from that, if you're in a situation, for example, where you're playing with somebody, maybe you've already got a certain type of relationship with them, you know, you maybe met them a few times, but nothing's actually happened, and you decide to take it further, and it's not quite what you think it was going to be. How do you deal with that?
I think, again, this comes down, you've got to be honest. You know, we talk about being in a naughty hobby where there's less judgment. You know, let's start believing that. You know, if you say to somebody, I'm really sorry, but we're just not feeling it tonight, then there shouldn't be that judgment. People should be able to go, okay, no, that's absolutely fine. You know, you're then, we've said this before, you're not wasting people's time. They can then go off and find somebody else. But it is understanding that we are in the naughty hobby, and the rules are slightly different, not the same as in the Muggle world. So we have to start believing that and treating people accordingly, and just be open and honest. You don't have to be rude about it. Even just saying, hey, I'm really sorry, I'm just not feeling it right now. I really need to, you know, can we go and grab a drink and maybe just have a chat or something? You know, it's not ideal, but it's certainly better than the alternative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially, and if you've sort of created a certain rapport with somebody that, you know, you really enjoy and everything else, you don't want that to ruin that side of it as well.
Yeah.
So, like you say, we always talk about being open and honest, and people in the naughty hobby are a lot more like that because they have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think it's just a courage thing, isn't it? It's having the confidence to be able to say, okay, that wasn't quite for me today.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy your company or whatever.
it's learning to say that you don't like something, or you're not sexually into someone.
Yeah.
Because in the Muggle world, that's an instant rejection, and we think that we're hurting their feelings. But here, there is within the naughty hobby, we celebrate the fact that we have complete freedom. So in a sort of monogamous relationship, if you reject someone, that's it. You're breaking up with them. It's 1-to-1. But in the naughty hobby, it should be the fact of, okay, you know, I really love your company or whatever, but I just don't want to go to the playroom. I'm all right, thanks very much. They are totally free to go off and discover more fun with hundreds more people, especially if you're at V2V. There's hundreds of them. So why don't we treat it like that? Why do we treat it sometimes that it's almost like this monogamous thing where we don't want to hurt their feelings? But like Mr. Foxy says, actually what we could end up doing is ruining their night, because we've taken up probably 2 hours of their time. They're looking to kind of take things further, go into a hot tub or go into the playrooms or whatever. But you're just trying to think of ways to escape. So you're not on the same page. You're going to ruin it for everybody.
Exactly.
It is strange, because when we talked about this before, you know, people do bring the Muggle world thinking into the naughty hobby, and the two don't always marry up. So you start, you know, even though you're there for the naughty hobby, sometimes, you know, you see this all the time. Sometimes people get quite possessive. You know, yeah, we're all free and we're sharing, but actually, no, that's my person. That's my, you know,
yeah,
and it gets a little bit difficult. So it's getting outside of that thinking and mindset, and just letting people be, I suppose.
I totally agree. And you know, something you said, me and Mr. Foxy had a great conversation the other day, and Mr. Foxy said polyamory is completely different to swinging.
Yeah.
It's two totally separate things. Swinging, the naughty hobby, is freedom to share with other people and be more liberated within your sexual lifestyle. Whereas polyamory is committed. You are committed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many are in that relationship. And that might be an open relationship, it might be a closed relationship, but it is not swinging. Polyamory is about commitment to so many people, whereas swinging is more just be free to go out and do what you want.
Absolutely. You know, you're there to enjoy yourself. And we don't want to upset and offend other people, but it's remembering that, you know, you are there for your hedonistic pleasure, for you and your partner, and hopefully other people want to be a part of that. But without trying to sound harsh, you know, as long as you treat people right, you don't really owe anybody anything. You're not in a relationship with anybody else. Polyamory is more, as you said, about a relationship. Some of them are exclusive as opposed to non-exclusive, but they just agree the rules and the boundaries. But yeah, it where some of these start to overlap is where the complications start creeping in.
Absolutely. But I didn't think about it till you'd said it to me, Mr. Foxy, and it's so different. And I wanted to actually sort of bring that up on the podcast so that a lot of people understand the difference between polyamory and swinging, just as general. I mean, I hate labels anyway. We all hate labels, but you do have to have something to label what it is.
Yeah, and it does get complicated. You know, you do a good old search engine search, and so often you'll find these labels overlap. There are people talk about polyamory and ethical non-monogamy as being one and the same, or completely separate. You know, I mean, you could have ethical non-monogamy, might be nothing to do with swinging. You might just have a couple where one of them has an illness or something, and they're not able to engage in sexual acts, but they permit their partner to go off and do that with somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, that's still non-monogamy, but ethically, because it's done with permission.
Yeah.
But they're not swinging.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well said.
So, you know, it's the same that technically swinging and polyamory are ethical non-monogamy. But, you know, we use these phrases, but everybody has a different understanding of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Foxy, for stepping in at very short notice today.
Very short notice.
I am forever grateful, and I will repay the favour, I promise.
Oh, I can't wait.
I just need to be able to breathe properly first.
You've got about 48 hours, Mrs. N.
I know. I'm going off to get Vic on my chest.
Lucky Vic.
Mr. Foxy, thank you so much for being part of V2V.
Always a pleasure.
We've got so many good things coming up. We have got so many exciting things. We've got the festival next year. Tickets go on sale on the 1st of October. At this stage, we are only offering tickets to people that have been to Liberty Elite. So you have to have been to Liberty Elite, and the tickets go on sale on the 1st of October. You just ring the Liberty Elite telephone number. That is the only way you can buy your tickets. We are having glamping tents. We are having... you can bring your caravans, you can bring your motorhomes if you've got them. It's going to be so good. We're going to have multiple different tents and marquees representing different events that are on at Liberty Elite. We're going to have, of course, the big bar tent.
You can event hop, can't you?
Yeah. You could go from Dark Desires to... I don't know, to V2V, to
Hot Wives.
Hot Wife Club. You could do all of it. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good.
I just hope there's a bouncy castle.
I've tried. So all I can say, I've tried. We've got other stuff coming up as well that we can't yet talk about, but there is so much exciting stuff happening that we're going to hopefully be announcing really soon. But we cannot wait for that. So, Mr. Foxy, thank you so much.
Again, welcome.
And we will see you in person
very, very soon
at V2V.
Yeah.
See you guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This week, IRB.